Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the February 7th Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority Board meeting. Susan, would you like to call the roll, please?
I would. Bob Gutzel.
Here.
Rick Klopp. Here. Howard Lazarus.
Here.
Jessica Lita.
Here.
Joan Lowenstein. Here. Darren McKinnon.
Present.
John Moat.
Here.
Rishin Ryan.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
John Split.
Here.
Phil Weiss.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Susan. We need to approve the meeting agenda. Need a motion to do so. Keith, thank you. All those in favor of approving, who's the second? John Split, thank you. Those in favor of approving the board meeting agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Thank you. Item number 3, audience participation. Do we have any member of the public who would like to speak to us today? I don't think we had anybody sign up, so we'll go right to Ray. Reports from city boards and commissions, 4 minutes.
And Ray will give you whatever my lack of glasses will allow me to read. Last night's meeting of the CAC was attended by 17 Citizen Advisory Council members, near downtown residents, and representatives of the Downtown Development Authority. We had a chance to once again express our support of the DDA downtown parking and parking rate recommendations, as well as plans for DDA streetscape and traffic improvements in the area of North 5th, Detroit, and new two-way traffic on Ashley and First. There are a lot of changes that are now contemplated for downtown and near downtown neighborhoods. I'm sure you're all aware of those. We all agree that whether those changes are on South University, east and west of Main Street, on the library block, along the tree line, on Main Street, in Lower Town, on Glen Depot or Fuller, they must all be developed with a clear vision of how together they will provide an interconnected future for the central area of our city. Excuse me. Much of last night's meeting was devoted to a discussion of the 3 meetings some of us have had with the owners, representatives, and architects of the Graduate Hotel on East Huron Estate. They wish to add an elevator, an outside elevator, a bar and a restaurant to the roof level of what was once the Campus Inn. After a lot of discussion of the pros and cons of this proposal, we all agree that whatever variances might be needed to permit this change must be permitted to others owning property in D1, D2 zoning of the downtown area. That may be very hard to support in the future, but that's the position of the Citizen Council at this particular point, and we're scheduled for another meeting with them in another week. We'll see how all of that goes. The last part of our meeting was devoted to discussion of the status of city negotiations to move forward on the already approved sale of the library lot to the core development. All of our inquiries have provided us with no answers. The CAC supported moving forward with this project with the expectation that it would have limited negative impact on its neighbors and provide connectivity to the library, the Blake Transit Center, nearby historic structures, the First Martin properties, William Street, and even the tree line on the other side of Main. We look forward to beginning the process of design guidelines meetings, planning commission meetings, and city council meetings that are all necessary to achieve final site plan approval of a project on one of the most important blocks in the downtown. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Item number 5, DDA member communications. I'd like to, on behalf of the DDA, welcome our newest member, Jessica Lita.
Good. Right
Rhymes
out the
with
gate.
seesaw.
Yes, it does.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Jessica Lita. Most people call me Jess. I'm originally from Georgia. I moved up to Ann Arbor 8.5, almost 9 years ago now to study architecture at the graduate program at the University of Michigan. My first degree is in German linguistics, which I usually do a smooth cover and say communications. My entire career has been in design build, so I've been working around builders and designers and architects, and I'm currently a consultant. I work for myself for architects and builders, and I do community education around architecture in Ann Arbor. I cannot say how excited I am to be serving on the DDA with a group of innovative and forward-thinking people. I already have much gratitude to give to the DDA staff for giving me so many hours of your time and answering basically a million questions and opening every book you've got. So thank you, and I look forward to the future.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Item number 2, we have, I think everybody knows that Saba has moved on from the board, and we have a resolution thanking her. I think I need a motion for this resolution. So moved. Bob, thank you. Second. Joan, thank you. I'm just going to read it. Resolution thanking Saba Farah, thank you. Whereas Saba Farah contributed time, energy, and passion to the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority since 2016, whereas Saba Farah brought important insights into DDA discussions, including an experienced awareness of the importance of good streetscape design and the unique needs and challenges of small businesses. Whereas through her efforts and involvement, Saba Farah helped to increase the positive visibility of the DDA in the downtown business community and the community at large. And whereas Saba Farah's warm presence and keen intelligence has been appreciated by all who have had the pleasure of working with her at the DDA. Result, the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority extends its great thanks and best wishes to Saba Farah for her contributions to the downtown and indeed to the community as a whole through her work on the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority Board. So thank you to Saba. I wish her well. I don't think there are any other DDA. We need to vote on this resolution. Thank you. Those in favor of the resolution thanking Saba, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Resolution passes. Are there any other DDA member communications? Okay. Executive Director? Hearing nothing. We need to approve the January board meeting minutes. Could we have a motion to approve the January meeting minutes?
So moved.
Marie, thank you. Jessica, second. Any questions, discussion about the, okay. Meeting minutes are approved. Our first subcommittee, I'm sorry. All those in favor of approving the January meeting minutes say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. God. Can I go to item number 8?
Are you in a hurry?
No. That's my job. Subcommittee reports. Marie, you're up with finance, please.
I am excited to be first up today. We have meaty stuff on. First off, I'd like to move the resolution to approve the parking rate changes, which is being co-sponsored by the Ops Committee.
I would like to move that resolution. Have you moved it?
I'm moving it.
Okay, then I'm seconding it, sorry.
Can I move my own resolution? Can I move my own
Are
resolution?
we doing,
Yes.
are we, yes, and we are doing that now versus in operations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the resolution, and so I'm gonna read this one. It's an interesting subject. Revenues pay for nearly every parking system cost here in downtown Ann Arbor. 20% of those revenues are given to the city. The reasons for the rate changes, we've been talking about this for some time now. There are 3 primary reasons. One are the costs to run the system continually increase. We haven't had any increases since 2015. Second, we are continually making enhancements to the system, ePark, mobile app, and the project at 4th and William. And the third is that we are going to move forward with an expansion at Ann and Ashley, which will add spaces for visitors, customers, etc. The proposed parking rate change plan uses several strategies. One is a multi-year plan it's a multi-year plan with small annual rate changes. That makes it more predictable and it's not a surprise every year for the community. Second, the hourly garage rates will stay the same. The last time those changed was 2012. Over time, the difference between paying by the hour and versus permit will lessen, which may free up the permits to be available for those who need them. And the cost to park in the garages will be the same, so it'll become more attractive, and ideally less people will use the meters downtown. John, do you have any comments from the Ops Committee?
Other than we received public input both through email and at our last meeting, our last board meeting. I would like to thank everyone for their input. Staff also recommended some other changes to meter bags and some of the other things that are involved in the parking system. We discussed these at operations. One was to increase the meter bag price over time, and the committee did not feel that that was a good solution to a problem that some people see in terms of having bags metered over an extended period of time. Our feeling was that contractors are already spending a lot of money when they're running over time, and our adding a meter bag, a fairly small meter bag charge is insignificant to them when they're making those decisions. They're trying to get the project done as quickly as they can because it costs them money when they're running over. There was also discussion about increasing the rate to install meter bags on Sundays. It's costing us overtime to install and remove meter bags on Sundays, and so there's going to be a surcharge involved with meter bags on Sundays to make sure that we're covering our cost. There's also a proposal to create a new rate for electric vehicle charging stations, and some of those are going to be added on the street. Also, we may be adding that. Do we propose adding that to structures?
No, at this time, we're just looking at the meters in the 4th and Capitol lot and on-street.
Okay, thank you. And also, we looked at increasing the cost of off-peak permit overtime or overstay penalties. There are people who are using overnight permits and leaving their vehicle after the overnight period is complete. And we looked at increasing those fines so that folks who have overnight permits aren't staying in the spot all day. And the committee was in favor of those changes.
The parking rate changes take effect
Schedule, okay,
April 1st.
that's all I have to add.
I think you can go online in the DDA and see what the proposed rate changes are going to be over time.
Any more discussion, questions on the proposed rate changes on the resolution that's co-sponsored by Finance and Operations? Hearing none, need a vote. All those in favor of the resolution to approve parking rate changes co-sponsored between Operations and Finance, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Resolution passes. Are you still up, Marie?
Yep. Next, we reviewed the financial statements as we do every year. Credit to the team that they have updated a disaster recovery plan for the DDA that has to do with the servers, the computer files. So they've kind of gone through and proactively made a plan so that they'll never be without their data. We talked about a proposed DDA credit card policy, and Joe shared with us some of those policies and procedures that they're considering internally. We talked about the 5th and Detroit cost sharing. The city's going to oversee this construction contract, and the committee reviewed the cost sharing agreement for the DDA portion of the project. I don't know if we need to go in that it's going to be kind of the flip side of what we have on Southview, but we did review that if anybody has any questions. And we reviewed the 2019 budget. We have some more work to do on that. And our next Finance Committee meeting is Thursday, March 1st at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Marie. John and Keith, Operations Committee update.
I think,
First, I think.
I think Ann Ashley is first, Keith.
Yep. Oh, it is. Look at that.
And I don't see car, I'm sorry, I don't
It's in
see,
different order here.
I don't
All
see,
right.
yeah, I don't see car share on here either, so. if you
Yeah,
want to
all right,
go ahead
I'll
and
just cover both of those.
You know, we have a staff person gone and now somebody else is doing it and.
All right,
I have a
so
feeling.
two things. First, what's up here is the Ann Ashley pilot for free parking during the 5th and Detroit Improvement Project. There's sort of two reasons for doing this, even though it goes against one of our mantras of the high cost of free parking. One is that there are going to be lost parking spaces in the Carytown area during the construction. And the other related to that is that Ann Ashley, though it's the closest to the Carytown area, is often not perceived by people using the Carytown area as the parking lot that structure that serves that area. So we're hoping by doing one season of the free parking that it will encourage people who will be looking for parking spaces because of the construction to try that out and realize that it's just one block over, even if it is on the other side of Main Street. So that will be going from March until November of this year. Any questions about that? Then the other thing I have that's not on the agenda, but just a little informational piece about car share. We have contracts with both Zipcar and Maven in several locations throughout the city. In renewing them, the committee resolved to standardize the rates by charging them the premium monthly permit rate, which, as we just discussed, will be changing over the course of the next several years. And that's all I have.
That's all you have. Monthly parking and transportation report is in your board packets, pages 35 to 40. And if anybody has questions, please direct them to Joe or Jada. Seeing none. The Republic parking contract is due for automatic renewal this summer. And unless we opt out of that contract, it automatically renews. The committee strongly recommends, staff strongly recommends that we continue that contract. So again, unless we take action, it will automatically renew. General operations, Republic has a new general manager. His name is Michael McInnes. I see him in the audience. You mind being put on the spot and just coming up and introducing yourself to the board?
Sure. Good afternoon, board. Mike McInnes, public parking, and super excited to be here. I am new to parking, but I do have about 25 years in management and multi-unit experience, and I have a fantastic team over there, and I have a great support network, and just looking forward to continuing to serve Ann Arbor and board and being of service to you. Any questions for me?
There will be.
There we go.
Fair enough.
In committee.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we just like to say welcome.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks.
That is all I have. The next ops meeting is Wednesday, February 28th at 11 a.m.
Okay, thanks, John. Next up is Capital Improvements Committee. John Moat.
Great, thanks. I have great news. 5th and Detroit bids came in low.
All right.
So that is always a huge relief, as I can imagine you all would agree. So, as a result, there is a resolution on page 41. I would like to move resolution to approve 5th and Detroit construction cost sharing agreement with the city. Did you? Okay, it is. So, we have Liz here. Unfortunately, Amber's not well today, so she's not here, but Liz is here to answer any questions. Just to provide a little bit of quick background. Folks may remember that this is a joint project with the city, since the city is doing a lot of work within the street itself. They are acting as the primary contractor on this, so we need to execute this cost-sharing agreement resolution. I think a piece that is important for folks, a couple of things. One is, you'll see on the following page, on page 42, is a brief budget breakdown of our costs. And then in addition to that, ignore page 43 and beyond, and please refer to the individual agreement that was handed out. There was some last minute shifting to align the numbers correctly. But I think that just the brief little breakdown is probably the most helpful. You'll see that the total project budget was $3.4 million, design fees $300,000. The cost share agreement was the city at $2.2 million, and you'll see the breakdown below the construction contract. So you'll see that $1,650,269 is referenced in the agreement in the latter pages. I think maybe the last page. Yeah, the last page. You'll see total construction from bid tab. The far right column is the DDA percentage of $1,650,269. Now what you'll see is a little bit of apples to oranges in the sense that when you look at that last sheet of the agreement, there are numbers for construction engineering, $198,000, and testing of $20,717. Liz tweaked those numbers a little bit in our DDA write-up to bump those numbers a little bit, just to give us a little more buffer. The DDA write-up also shows our construction contingency of $300,000. So those three categories are where you see a little bit of discrepancy, but the basic cost share agreement is based on that bid tab number that's consistent from one to the other. So the other aspect of this that's significant is because it came in under budget, we were able to look at some other extra items for the project. So you'll see below, under other costs, items for EV charging stations, street light poles, purchase of light fixtures, relocating electric panels, varying overhead lines, and loading zone changes. Those last two, the very overhead lines, I think many people may remember, we were working to try to have those private utility lines. If you remember when we did our walkthrough, those power lines, the electric power lines are way up high. You don't really see them a whole lot, but the ones down lower, all cable and all that stuff. And that is the stuff that we're able to vary. It's not the DTE lines. So we'll still have poles, we'll still have power lines, but the ones that are really significant at eye level that affect the ornamental skip trees and all that, we have enough money to bury those buggers. The other thing is loading zone changes. It allows us to make some modifications so that because of our changes, we can actually do some things on, is it Kingsley? All right, street, Kingsley near Fourth, where we can do some more modifications over there to allow for improved loading zone areas. So I think it's exciting that things are falling into place. I want to give a lot of credit to both Amber and Liz, spearheading this process. Unfortunately, Amber's not here, as I say, but maybe she's watching on TV. But does anyone have any questions for Liz in particular about? Oh, one other thing though I think is important. The other thing that worked out well is that the low bidder was Fonson, who was the company who did the South U project. And Liz was very happy when they turned out to be the low bidder. They were very good to work with. You may remember we had that challenge with the underhead, it's a new one, the underground water main surprise, and Fonson and Liz did work really well together with the city to kind of get that to kind of move through and communicate with people and all. So we're very happy that they're the contractors for the project. So all bodes well. Any questions for either Liz or for me?
Are we concerned at all that the bids came in low? I mean, in this environment, right? I mean, construction costs are very high these days, but is this a timing thing based on off-season or?
So I don't know for sure, but I think our estimate was based on the South U bids, which were really high. So we were going into South U thinking it was going to be high, and it was even higher. So we estimated 5th using those numbers, but I feel like that was more exaggerated, so maybe now we're back to normal.
Okay.
I also think we get our bids in early, and that helps. So contractors haven't filled up their schedule. This is the, maybe the first project that they see, so I think you get better prices. So I think it's all good.
And the other thing that you always look for is that the next bid was pretty close.
They're very close. They were
quite close.
Two
So
big contractors.
Yeah.
And very close bids.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
design team and Liz have gone through the bid carefully for the contractors to make sure that they're comfortable and confident with it. And
Cool.
so far so good. Any other questions about 5th and Detroit? First and Ashley and Williams Street project.
Have to do the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a resolution. Boy, now I've caught it.
I'm not helping anybody anymore. I'm sitting right here.
Yes.
So we have a resolution to enter into a cost-sharing agreement with the city for the 5th and Detroit project. Need a motion. It was moved and seconded. So all those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Resolution passes.
Thank you much. Okay. Moving on. First and Ashley and Williams, we had our kickoff meeting for that project. Ian Lockwood from Tool Design was here in town and gave a stirring presentation about the impacts of.
It was really good.
He was really
good.
Yeah, this guy actually is trained as a traffic engineer. You'd never guess in a million years. No offense to traffic engineers, but usually they're not you don't usually rouse your emotions and all. And this guy came in and did a very effective job at giving folks an idea of how impactful changes can be. And in particular, of course, this is looking at the idea of changing one-way streets to two-way streets and putting bicycle lanes in, which may seem mundane, but in his world, he shows how it can really transform cities. And he had very good examples of cities that he's worked in and how this has affected those cities. So that was, I think, encouraging. It's good for all of us, I think, to see a vision of what can change and how change can be a very good thing. I think, we tend to be fearful of change. And this, I think, is a pretty exciting example of where, not necessarily all the numbers and the metrics and the way to analyze things always give you the complete picture of what changes can mean. So I think folks who were there took it to heart that sometimes you jump in and you do these things and it would work out well. Some of the things that I think were important was the fact that it is that notion of trying to change the community's thinking towards safety and pedestrian function. Business development, we talked quite a bit about what it means from a planning point of view and what can be developed and so forth. So, I would love to see maybe a version of his presentation even shared with, Planning Commission and other, bodies of the city to kind of show how change can be very impactful in a city. That project obviously is kind of getting up and running. It's in its early stages, and there are those mundane things of traffic counts and all the sort of due diligence pieces that the design team will be working on. Shifting over to Huron, the staff has been working with MDOT, the city forester, various folks trying to look at those factors that sort of take the design to the next level of what can be done. And I think they'll be bringing some of those results back to us at our next meeting. Our next meeting is February 21st, 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Next up is partnerships. Joan?
Yes, I can report what happened. I was not here, so if you want to chime in whenever.
That's right, you weren't here.
I make mistakes, but.
Yeah, sure.
You can add.
Sure.
So I was sorry I was not here because Josie Parker was here from the library, and there was a discussion about what their plans are for the downtown building, library building. And the last time it was determined that it would be less costly in the long run to replace the building rather than continue with necessary repairs. And so that question is being considered again. And the strategic plan will guide the process, and the community will be asked to weigh in on the decision, because there would probably have to be a millage.
Apparently the building has been pieced together in 2 or 3 different sections over a 30-year or 40-year period, and none of the plumbing and electrical really work well together. There's backups in the plumbing all the time over there, and it costs, what'd you say, $300,000
$300,000 a year.
to keep it going. So their board is crunching some numbers and looking at different options. One of them may be just to raise the building and start over. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad that she is coming to us, and maybe we can help her think out of the box on that a little. Also, Mary Stasiak from AATA, and the new Ypsilanti Township Express bus has begun. That was, I have to channel Roger Hewitt, who talked about that for a long time, and but the Ypsi Express bus, that is not something that we, the DDA, are putting money into, is it? Or is that just from the millage?
I think it is from the village.
As I remembered, I think we're giving a little bit toward express service. Which
Yeah,
includes
that's
this,
what I had remembered.
Canton
Oh.
and Chelsea.
Oh.
Yes, we're giving a small amount to
Okay.
encourage it.
So that's the final new service promise as part of the 2014 millage, and discussions have begun about putting the millage forward for renewal later this year. Graydon Crapel was here from City Council. The council has scheduled work sessions for the year, and that's going to be an opportunity to go into strategic areas, and the budget season, of course, is starting. I don't know if there's anything else from council that was
I think
reported.
I think that's pretty much it.
And then, of course, the DDA outlined the parking rate changes and other status of the projects that we've just gone over in our own meeting here. Anything else you can think of that was
No, I
missed
think
here,
that
Phil?
I think that covers it, yeah.
The next partnerships meeting will be next week. Very special, everyone must wear pink or red for February 14th, Valentine's Day
Wow.
partnerships. Come with your little arrows, not aimed at us. And that will be at 9 a.m. here.
All right, thanks, Joan. The executive committee met this morning. We welcomed Jessica again. We went over the agenda, caught up on some local gossip, I think, but other than that, does anybody have anything to add to what we talked about at the executive committee? Darren? No, I don't think so. Okay. Any new business anyone would like to bring to the board?
I don't have new business, but I forgot that I'm not the public anymore, and forgot to say something earlier. I wonder if I can say something now.
Sure, yeah, you were going to mention, I can't remember what, but you wanted to speak about.
I did. Just one thing. So, and this is more for public comment and our friends watching at home. But I wanted to let folks know that I'm going to be holding, I'm calling it a downtown hall, but it'll be coffee hours around the city, starting in March, probably twice monthly. And this will be bringing the downtown out into the city and just encouraging people to come and share their grievances and share their ideas for how we can make the downtown better. But sometimes it's easier to do in your home turf than actually make it down to downtown and give comments. So I'll be posting those dates and sharing them at the next board meeting as well.
Great, thanks.
We'd like to say friend watching at home. Friends is getting a little presumptuous.
And Amber.
Yeah, and Amber watching at home.
Get well soon, Amber. Any other audience participation? Anyone else like to speak to the board? This is your time to do it. Hearing none. Could I get a motion for adjournment, please?
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment?
Yeah, coming strong at the end.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Those opposed?
But I was more ready.